Thanks for listening to the Swearing In podcast, where you'll hear the origin stories of those who chose to serve. So ground your gear, take a seat, and listen up. The Swearing In podcast starts right now.
C-130 rolling down the strip.
C-130 rolling down the strip.
We on an airborne ranger, take a little trip.
We're on an airborne ranger, gonna take a little trip.
Hello and welcome to everyone listening, and I'd like to present arms to all of my brothers and sisters in service. This is the Swearing In Podcast, and I am your host, Marty Smith. My guest today is Marine Gunnery Sergeant retired Louis Reyes. Louis was born in San Antonio, Texas, and graduated from Judson High School in 1976. After taking the ASVAB test, he was offered a job in Avionics, but entered the Marine Corps as a structural mechanic. He left for Marine boot camp in San Diego, California in January 1977. After completing boot camp as the Platoon Honor Man, he attended tech training at Millington, Tennessee. His first assignment was to HMA 169 at Camp Pendleton, California in 1978. He later became a drill instructor and eventually retired from the Marines in August 1997. This concludes your pre-brief on Gunnery Sergeant Reyes. Now let's get on with the interview. All right, joining me today is Marine retired Gunnery Sergeant Louis Reyes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for doing the interview. It's a pleasure to be here talking to you, get your story.
I'm so glad you're doing it, and I'm excited to do this interview.
Well, let's get to it. Where were you born at?
I was born in San Antonio, Texas.
Went to high school there?
Yes.
What was the high school? I'm sure
it was called Judson High School.
Oh, yeah?
And when I first got there, well, I lived in the projects in the Victoria Courts. Anybody in San Antonio back then will know the Victoria Courts. It was bad. And my mom, she got divorced from my father. And like I said, my mom had 10 of us, 7 boys and 3 girls. And I'm number 8 of 10. Wow. And I was going to go to Page Junior High in San Antonio from the projects. But my mom met a staff sergeant in the Army, Ramon Castro. Yeah. And they were together for a long time. And I didn't like the guy, but I respected him because he had been in the Army. And well, he was in the Army at the time. And he got my mom a house to move out of the project. So we moved from San Antonio, right outside of San Antonio, this little town called Kirby. And that's where I went, 7th grade. And I went there and I excelled in football, basketball, and track. Yeah. So my 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, I played all 3 sports. And, then I went to high school at Judson High School and I graduated in 76. But yeah, it was, I always tell people, if I had stayed there, I made the right choices. Right. All my brothers, they always like to do stuff, illegal stuff, and me, I say, hell no. I said, if my mom catches us doing anything, she's going to beat us, Yeah, right. So I was always a scared one and I never did it. So,
well, maybe you were respectful to your mother.
Yeah.
And we'll look at it that way.
Well,
I'm sure your older brothers said you were scared.
Oh yeah.
Right?
They always call me all the weird names, you're scary, you're queer and all this stuff. But, hey, it's the way I am, and a lot of people tell me that I am the type of person I am because of the Marine Corps, that the Marine Corps made me this way. But that's not true.
Sounds like you were walking into it, yeah.
My mom made me this way, the way I am. I have her work ethic. My mom, she struggled raising 10 kids on her own. And she did all by herself because my father was an alcoholic, a playboy, and he was never around. And for me, being number 8 of 10, I don't really know my father. I don't remember him, Right. And all I know is the bad things, getting drunk, beating my mom up and stuff. So
it's hard to get past that.
Yeah. So and I don't know if that's one of the reasons why I never drank or smoked, but I never picked up the habit. And I just know my mom struggled, and she was an amazing woman to raise 10 kids on her own. Wow. And she lived to be 91 years old. So
no kidding.
Yeah.
Good honor.
Yep. So, yeah.
So now you graduated. What did you know what you're going to do?
in high school, the Marine Corps recruiter will always come.
Right.
My brother Carlos were in the Marine Corps.
So they were already in.
Yeah,
so
they had already been in and gotten out. And I think the biggest thing, I wanted to be in the Marine Corps, but then I kind of got scared, like I didn't want to join it. And what really pushed me to do it, my senior year, when I started talking about joining the Marine Corps, my brother Carlos told me that I was not man enough to join the Marine Corps. So that said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to prove to you that I can do it. And plus, at the time, I had stopped playing sports my sophomore year. I started working part-time.
Of course.
And then my senior year, I had enough credits so I didn't have to go through the whole day of school. So half the day I would get off and I'd go to work. And I started working full-time hours. Yeah. And the store that I was working was a food chain in San Antonio called Foodway. And they started going under. They started getting bought out. Really? And so this store that bought our store, they didn't bring in a produce manager. I was a part-time produce guy. And so the store manager came and talked to me and he goes, we didn't bring in a produce manager because we've heard so much good things about you. We want to give you a chance to be a produce manager. So at 19 years old, I became a produce manager, and I was making good money for, a 19-year-old kid in high school.
Especially where you were in that part of Texas.
But I got bored of it, and I needed a challenge, and that put me over. My brother telling me that I wasn't man enough, and then I got bored, and I need a challenge.
Well, you lose some of that competitive stuff when you stop playing sports. Yeah. Right? And now you're replacing some of that with work, which gets humdrum. Yeah. And then your brother throws out the challenge. Yeah,
and then it's just like,
and now
after
it's eating
that,
at you, right?
Yeah, it was always there.
Yeah.
And then when, I got tired of being a produce manager, and I was like, this is not for me. I need something more. And I knew I wasn't going to go to college because we couldn't afford it, Right. And so I was like, well, the Corps is where I'm going to go. And
was that like you sitting around on a Saturday night, like, maybe I should go talk to those guys?
Yeah.
And it just was kind of like, give me something else?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it just, I started thinking about it a lot and started talking to a recruiter more and more.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, because he would come to the school all the time, and he always would talk to me, and have you changed your mind? Are you thinking about joining? And I was like, not yet, I'm not, It's like, he goes, well, are you going to go to college after you graduate? I go, no, I can't afford it. He goes, well, that's why you should join the Marine Corps. You have to join the Marine Corps, And I was like, I said, well, we'll see. I said, let me see how the school year goes. And then once I graduate, we'll see what happens. And, it's like I graduated and I just got tired. I got tired of same old thing, going to this thing. And for me, I was already a leader because I had two part-time guys because I was a produce manager. So whenever I made a list for my night crew guy to finish, to close the store, and I made sure when I wrote this list for him to do, I made sure that I could do what I was writing down. So he cannot say, And
you're doing this at 19.
Yeah, 19. And so, and for me, it was always like that because my brother Roger, number 9 to 10, and Adrian, we were the last three together living in Kirby in the house. Oh, okay. And my mom worked at the PX at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio. Right. She retired there. I mean, she put in, I think, 35 years, 40 years there. Yeah. But on the weekends, I took control of the house. So I had Roger do the dishes, work in the kitchen. I had Adrian do the room. And I did everything else. Yeah. I swept and mopped. I dust.
So you're already delegating.
I was already delegating, and this was me, And so.
And mom could depend on you to get that done.
And mom could depend on me, and I would make my mom coffee every morning. I would iron her uniforms all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was.
So you're like all the skills of being a Marine without actually being in.
Yeah, and then I love to cook. My mom.
Oh yeah.
Well, you had one of my burritos, right? Didn't Susan give you?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did.
Yeah. And so anyway, I love to cook. And my wife's brothers, because she's the only girl and she had 5 brothers. Two of them had passed already. But they all was like, we want to marry Louis. He cleans and he cooks and he does laundry and he does all this stuff. Yeah. But that's just me though. I've always been like that, And like I said, the Marine Corps didn't make me this way. I was already like this. So
So what he said, what he put down in front of you? What kind of contract when you finally walked in and said, "Okay, let's do it"? Right?
I took the ASVAB.
Yeah.
And I scored high on it.
Good.
So he said,
figures. Yeah.
He goes, "You're going to be in you can be in aviation." And I said, "Okay." I didn't even think about aviation. What is aviation?
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay, aviation sounds good." I mean, I wasn't thinking, at 19 years old, all I knew was I was going to join the Marine Corps. And
yeah, but you didn't join out of like some kind of fantasy of charging up a hill or anything.
Oh no,
like
no,
that,
no.
Right? You
no.
just, hey, I like the structure. I like the military.
Yeah, I want to prove to my brothers, my two brothers that were Marines, that I can do it. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
To prove to them that I could do it.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one other than my brother Ernest. He retired from the Army.
Oh, he did.
And he retired from the Army, and I'm the only one that retired from the Marine Corps.
Oh,
so I always tell my brothers, hey,
you guys weren't
20. I was
guys
like
weren't
20 years, 7 months. So so.
You guys couldn't hack it for 20 years.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's what I said. But
Okay, so he throws aviation at you.
And I signed a contract, and then he wanted me to go in December because I signed the contract in September.
Okay.
And he wanted me to go in December, and I go, no, I want to spend Christmas, before I go to boot camp,
Smart.
And I had met my wife. This is an interesting story. I knew her in high school, but I just never had any kind of feelings for her.
Okay.
Actually, I was dating this girl named Betty, who I really thought I was going to marry. And she was a Mexican girl. And I was a fool, we broke up so many times, and I always went crying back to her, take me back, Betty. And it wasn't until my senior year that the last time we broke up, it
was enough.
The light came on, I realized she didn't love me, you know.
Yeah.
And so I remember she came back to me asking if I would take her back. And I told her, well, I'll give you an answer on my last period before I go to work when I leave school. And so I'll never forget that day. She's walking towards me with all her friends, and she's all smiling like, I'm going to take her back. We're going to get back together. And I told her, I said, Betty, I said, what we had, we can never have again. I said, you never loved me the way I loved you. And I said, I don't hate you. And I said, I'll still talk to you, but as far as us being boyfriend and girlfriend, that's never going to happen again.
Oh, it's empowering.
And that was it. And so after that, she never talked to me, never looked at me, and that was it. And I knew my wife, when I was going with Betty, I would walk Trina, that's her name. I would walk her to class, and I just enjoyed talking to her. Yeah. But again, I had no feelings for her.
No, but that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I graduated, and the following year, there was a girl down the street. Her name was Gina Brigman. And, I was like, wow, I want her. And I used to run with her father. He was a preacher.
Okay.
And we used to run 10 miles, 15 miles. We just get up and run in San Antonio in the hot, humid weather. And it never bothered me. And we would run and run. So, I went to his house, and I was going to, I told him I was going to take his daughter to the football game. And he goes, Louis, I respect you a lot. He goes, but I'll take my daughter to the game, and you can meet her there. I said, no problem, sir. I understand. And so I left it at that. And then I ran into a friend of mine who her cousin was a drum majorette from the opposing team. Oh. And she wanted to hook us up. So that night I got all dressed up, and I was like, I'm going to hook up with Gina or my friend's cousin. So I get to the stadium. I'm going up the gangplank to the stadium. Yeah. And my wife, Trina, is coming down with one of her friends. And she tells me, because she was in the same class my brother Roger was. And she goes, how's Roger? That was it.
Are you kidding?
I was in love. I always tell her, because she's Hawaiian Filipino, my wife is.
Okay.
And I always tell her, you put some magic spell on me. But you said, hello, he goes, how's Roger? That's the only thing you said to me. And that was it. I forgot about Gina and the other
like
girl.
She gave you some magic adobo or something.
And that was it. And so, I knew when I went to boot camp, and, that was the reason I wanted to stay for Christmas.
Absolutely.
I wanted to have Christmas with her family and meet all her brothers, because I only had met two of them. Uh-huh. And so I knew that I wanted her to be my wife. I was 19 years old. She was 16. She turned 17 while I was in boot camp. But I knew.
It's like a movie.
And I told her, I said, I know you're too young, I said, I know I have to wait till you turn 18 so we can get married. I said, but I'm telling you now, I'm going to boot camp. I'm going to be a Marine, but I want to marry you. I want you to be my wife. And I told her that at 19 years old.
Wow.
I told her, you're the one I want, that I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Yeah.
I told her that. And, while I was in boot camp, I knew, I would write her letters every day. And I knew that I was going to have to wait. Well, while she was at home and she turned 17, she kept telling her mom, I'm going to marry him regardless. And so I didn't know this was going on. And so one day I got a letter from her. Will you marry me?
No, that's all it said?
That's it. And I was like, oh my God, yes.
Holy cow.
I wrote a letter to my brother Roger telling her, hey, Trina asked me to get married. I thought I was going to have to wait. So help her plan the wedding because we want to get married when I graduate. 3 days later, when I come home, I want to get married.
Wow.
And so we did. I went home in my dress blues, and 3 days later at Randolph Air Force Base in the chapel, we got married.
No kidding.
Yeah, we just hit our 45th wedding anniversary.
Ah, congratulations.
Yeah, so,
that's fantastic. Well, let's get to it. So you spend Christmas at home.
Yeah.
And then you ship off when?
January 25th, 1977.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And you're going to, now, did you get the choice to where to go
the way it is, it's split right there. Colorado's in this side.
Yeah.
So anybody straight down to the left, go to San Diego.
Okay.
Anybody on the other side,
so they
go
just
to the East Coast.
out,
yep.
Right.
Yeah. So I knew I was going to San Diego.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I knew I was going to San Diego.
What? I guess your brother went to San Diego.
Yeah, they both went to San Diego.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So no problem with being a family of Hollywood Marines.
Oh yeah,
right?
no problem.
That's funny because Army has the basic training
you have
all over the
basic
place,
everywhere.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there's really no this one may you may have a little bit higher altitude or something like that, but it's not the big division that the Marines have.
Oh yeah, so. It's a big division. You meet anybody from Paris Island and you tell them you're from San Diego, you're not a real Marine.
That's crazy.
Come on,
That's
man.
Crazy.
I went 13 weeks of training just like you did. It's the same training. You're the island, sand fleas, humidity. San Diego, you got mountains,
So
airport.
Is it just like Army guys and everything else? You go to MEPS and then they bus you in, or they fly you?
Well, when I went, went and graduated from boot camp, I went back and I did we did ITS, Infantry Training School, in our second phase of training.
Okay.
So we did the grunt training while we were in boot camp, second week of training.
Did your recruiter, did he take you to the airport?
No.
Oh, no?
No.
Okay.
No, he didn't take me to the airport. My wife, Trina, and my mom, they took me to the airport.
All right.
And I got a picture of us at the airport.
Yeah.
Going, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but they hadn't shaved you or anything like that?
No. I had long hair.
Did you?
Yeah, I had long hair. My junior year, I had hair down to here, but I cut it so I could start working.
Yeah.
When I started working. My brother Carlos.
Didn't want to look like a hippie.
He didn't think I would cut it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he goes, you're not going to go to work. You won't cut your hair just to work. I go, yeah, well, I want to work.
Yeah.
So I cut my hair, and he was really surprised. You know? He was the same one that said I wasn't bad enough to make it to the Corps.
He kept challenging you the whole way,
so, Yeah. So anyway, I cut my hair and stuff. So I knew, just from talking to both of them, I wasn't going to go to boot camp with long hair because they're going to.
But you didn't shave it.
Oh, no, heck no. Okay. I just cut it.
You just cut it.
I just cut it,
So tell me what it is when you land and they collect you and you're on the bus.
Let me tell you,
right?
You see a lot of movies and it's not that way. The closest movie to boot camp is Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, sure.
And that is the closest, real time, what a drill instructor is all about and what you do. So we got to the airport and there was a guy that I went from San Antonio. We went from the mess station to the airport.
You were friends.
Yeah, I was a friend with one of these guys. His name, his last name was Espinoza, but I don't remember his first name. But I could see his face clearly.
Yeah.
So we get to San Diego and they tell us to aboard the bus, and we get on the bus and everybody's in there and everybody's talking. And man, that drill instructor walks in, starts yelling and tells us to shut our mouth, and it's pitch quiet. You can hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
And then that drive all the way from the airport to San Diego, and it's just around the corner because the airport is just
it's close. Yeah.
Right. Good. And so it's like once we went the area, the way we got off the airport, I mean the freeway, and it was like real dark. And then it went in. It was like,
did you get there at night?
Crap. Yeah, always. They always get. It's always at night.
Right.
And it's like it was like around 11:30, close to midnight when we pulled in, and when the bus stopped, the drill instructor came on board. Holy crap! It was like
that's when it gets real.
Right? That's when it was real. Yeah. And I always tell everybody, they talk about the yellow footprints.
Oh yeah,
those yellow footprints there. That one that I did, and I got one right there.
Oh, you sure did.
Yeah, but when they say on this day I stepped on those yellow footprints, and I swear to God, it's like it was yesterday.
Okay.
And I mean, it was like there was 100,000 drill instructors when we got out. There was a drill instructor everywhere yelling and telling you to get on the yellow footprints. And then once we got on the yellow footprints, they did their little thing, because now the way they do it at receiving barracks, when you get there, it's nothing like when I went in.
I would imagine not. Yeah.
And they call it low stress, no stress. But man, we were stressed out. And
I bet.
I remember when they got us off and they wanted to take us to get our haircuts. I was standing there
in the middle of the night.
And I was in tears. I was like, what the fuck did I do? What did I get myself into? I want to go home. Right. But I swear that was a shock. It was,
sure.
I talked to my two brothers, but
but there's only so much prep they can tell you, right?
But once you're there, it's totally different.
Especially with somebody.
Yelling at you. You have everywhere yelling. And so, it was.
They hitting you with the hat?
Oh, yeah. And see, when I became a drill instructor, when I went to DI school, the SOP, when we went through that part of training for that week, and they went over to SOP, they wouldn't let you do that.
Oh, no.
You had to have one arm distance on the recruit.
Oh.
They wouldn't let you tag team a recruit, one here, one in front. Right. They wouldn't let you hit the recruit with your cover, your brim of the cover.
Yeah.
So, it like I said, it got easy. It got too easy. I don't think.
Well, tell all these young guys what you had to go through.
Yeah, I do. I tell them, man. I was like, I got choked. Sergeant Monk, I'll never forget him, man. He palm struck me one time. All my air came out. I fell to the ground. And he just walked away. And I was there like I thought I was going to die because I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, you lost your breath.
He just walked away, and I was there on the ground.
Oh, really?
And before he did that, he was choking me.
He was.
And he told me, because little recruits, they're house mouses. That's what they call them in boot camp. Uh-huh. And so what they do is they clean up the duty hut for the drill instructor's sleeve.
Oh, okay.
They clean the head where the drill instructors use. So I was in charge. I was a king rat. I was in charge of all the house mouses.
Yeah.
So he walked in there and the head wasn't clean good. So he grabbed me, threw me against the wall, and was choking me. And he was choking me so hard, he goes, Reyes, you got fucking 2 minutes to get this area unfucked.
Whoa.
And I couldn't talk because he was choking me so hard.
Yeah.
And then as he let go, as he walked out the door, he palm struck me.
Oh, that's when he got you?
And that's when I went down on the ground. And
Take you 2 minutes to get your breath back.
Yeah, he was always hitting me, but hey, it made me it made me tough, more tough than I was. I mean, I was an athlete, so the physical part was nothing for me. It was the mental toughness that was, and that's what I tell everybody. You don't have to be in good shape to go to boot camp, but you have to have mental toughness, because the games they play with you. Yeah. And I tell people this. I don't know how it is in other services. I said, but in the Marine Corps, you're trained to be a basic rifleman.
Yeah.
So if they need you, regardless of what your MOS is, you're going to go to the front lines if they need you.
Right.
So you have to have that mental toughness, and that discipline. And like when I was a drill instructor, we would say lack of discipline kills,
Absolutely.
And that is true, and
but
when I was a drill,
and
when I was a drill instructor, I realized that that's the way it was going. It was getting too easy, and I was like, it's getting too soft. I mean, again, I don't mean, you should be able to punch somebody out, stuff like that.
Or choke somebody,
or choke somebody out. But, you have to have discipline and mental toughness. And there's a way that you do that to a recruit, Right. And as a drill instructor, you can't tell the recruits this recruit needs an attitude adjustment. So
right, no blanket parties or anything like that.
But
right.
to get away from, getting in trouble, like if you have a recruit that's not putting out 100% or has attitude, I would get him and put him on top next to me, and they call it the classroom.
Yeah.
And I'm ITing the whole platoon in the squad bay.
Right.
I'm having them foot locker drills or, doing push-ups, putting their feet on the foot lockers and doing push-ups and all kind of stuff. And when I was a drill instructor, we would say, "Thank you, Recruit Jones." And all the recruits would say, "Thank you, Recruit Jones." And that'd be the recruit that's up there.
I never wanted to be
that
guy.
And so, that's one of the ways that we...
That's good discipline too.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. So...
It's like, okay, you don't mind screwing up, or maybe you do.
Yeah.
But look at the effects. And that's real world. That's a real world lesson too.
Yeah.
Because if you're out in the field and maybe you fall asleep on guard post.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could mean your whole squad, your whole platoon, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a good lesson.
Yeah. And so, being a drill instructor for me was the best part of my 20 years.
Yeah.
And my wife told me the reason I liked being a drill instructor was because I could play God. And for me, honestly, it wasn't that I could play God.
For some,
they let it get to their heads and they go.
It's a power trip.
That's why they get in trouble, because they think that they're God. They think they can do anything, and they can't. But for me, it was every week you saw a little progression.
That they're learning.
That they're moving a little faster. They're learning this, and every week till 13 weeks. That's for me. It's like, wow, 13 weeks. I made that kid into a Marine, and for me, that was I was really proud. You know, so that's why I like being a drill instructor.
How long after that first night did you get a little bit comfortable, or did you ever get comfortable?
No, I was never comfortable in boot camp. Never. Never. I was never comfortable. I was scared the whole time.
But that keeps you motivated.
Yeah,
right?
I was scared, and I think what I was more scared of was not succeeding, not graduating from boot camp. And like I said, when my wife wrote me that letter saying that, the obstacle course, to graduate, you have to pass swim. You have to pass all these things, the PFT. Yeah. And one of the things was the obstacle course we did. And you had to do it at a certain time. And I was struggling with the obstacle course. I was passing it, but I was struggling with it. Yeah. And when I got that letter, it was that week that we had to do a time run.
Perfect.
And man, I swear to God, that getting that letter, knowing that I have to do this because I have to go home and marry my wife. And man, I zoomed through that thing like nothing flat, and it was it.
How many people did you lose that first week?
The first week, I think,
because that's eye opening too.
Yeah,
I mean, they're leaving. Right?
Yeah, I think we lost 15.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
It was a lot.
But it makes you go, oh, this is. Yeah. I may not make it.
Yeah, right? And that's for me. That was the scariest thing, that for me was. And always remembering what my brother Carlos said, but that kept me going because, it's like, I cannot fail. I got to succeed. I got to prove to him that I can do this,
Just out of curiosity, did you ever go back?
No, I never went back and told him,
Well, now he's going to hear it, right?
Oh yeah. Now he's going to hear it. If you listen to the podcast, he'll hear it. Yeah.
But, you obviously did well, right?
Yeah.
What was the designation?
It was a Platoon Honor Man.
Platoon Honor Man.
You're
That's
the best recruit in the platoon. Your platoon.
How did you do? What is it? The end Crucible?
Well, see, that was before when I was a drill instructor. They didn't have the Crucible, or even when I went to boot camp. They didn't have that.
Oh, okay.
And when I left the drill field in '95, I think the next year they implemented the Crucible.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, and see, that's one of the things I talked to a lot of drill instructors that I knew that were still on the drill field and that started doing the Crucible. For us, when we were called Marines was the day, and when we got our Eagle Globe and Anchor was the day we graduated from boot camp. Yeah. And they say platoon 3012 dismissed. That's when you're a Marine. Sure. But now the way they do it was the Crucible. When they climb the Grim Reaper and they get to the top, they have this big ceremony.
Oh, they do?
And they give them their Eagle Globe and Anchor. And so,
but you hadn't graduated basic.
I know that. And so when they come back to San Diego from Camp Pendleton to do the last week of training to graduate and stuff, they no longer call you. They never call you drill instructor anymore. They call you by your rank. So they would say, Gunnery Sergeant Reyes, how you doing? Or,
Yeah.
and they would eat was a drill instructor.
Oh, geez.
And it was like a lot of my friends that were drill instructors, they were having a hard time doing that, you know? And I was like, man, for me, you're not a Marine till you on that parade deck and you dismiss.
That's tough.
That's when you're a Marine.
Make that change.
I don't know, but they did. And then having them call you by your rank, not drill instructor.
Yeah,
that's not.
That's right.
That's not.
Graduate, walk off the grounds, and then you can.
And then you're a Marine. Yeah.
Yeah, I got
So,
you.
yeah.
I got you. So you're graduated. You got your EGA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where's your first assignment?
I go back home for my 15 days leave, I think it was. And
oh, wait, you got to go to. Do you have a tech school?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Sorry
I went first to my leave after I graduated.
Right.
Went home, got married, and then my recruiter saw that I was a Platoon Honor Man.
Oh, yeah.
So he comes and meets me and tells me, "Hey, how would you like to be a recruiter assistant?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. What's a recruiter assistant?"
Oh,
he goes, "You stay with them. Yeah, you stay here another month, and you work with the recruiters, and you try to get kids to join the military, the Marine Corps." He goes, "You could stay 30 days." And of course, I just got married. So I was like, heck yeah, I'll do it. So they send in orders and I got it. Right. And so I reported to the recruiting station and it was like 8 to 5 job, you know. Yeah. And unless we had to go out of town to a high school that's outside of San Antonio, whatever, and do a thing, try to get kids in. But the second half of that month, for the first 2 weeks, I never got anybody to. I never got anybody to sign up. But I was motivated. They liked the way I carried myself in the recruiting station. Sure. My uniform, I was squared away and stuff. So no, that's what it was. They asked me, "Would you like to extend and stay here another month?" And that was like the first 2 weeks. And I was like, well, I haven't even got anybody to join. Why would you ask me that? That's what my thinking was. But the officer of the recruiting station told me, he goes, "We like the way you present yourself, and we would like you to stay another month with us if you want to." And I said, "Hell yeah, sure. Yeah, heck yeah, I get to stay another 30 days with my wife."
They can delay your school.
Yeah, and so I did, and they approved it, and I stayed another 30 days. But the second half of that second month, I got hepatitis.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I was sick in quarters for the last 2 weeks that I was supposed to be a recruiter assistant. Okay. So it was like I wasn't in the Marine Corps anymore. I was at home with my wife, and, and I was enjoying being with my wife, not like I'm not in the Marine Corps. And so the time came, for me to go back and to go to my school. And I went to my school the first week before I went.
Where was the school at?
It was in Millington, Tennessee.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And that was the airframe school that I had to go to. That's where it's at. But before I left, they always tell you you can't take your wife or girlfriend and stuff. Right. So my wife got an apartment there in San Antonio, and I had borrowed money from one of my brothers. I can't remember who it was. I think it was my brother Alfred, my second oldest. Yeah. So she'd get that apartment, and my recruiter told me, "You're a Marine now. Then you're gonna be treated like a Marine because you're a Marine and all this stuff." So I get to the base, Millington. First thing you know is there's a young corporal. "Come here, newbie," and he's acting like a drill instructor, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this?"
And you're 2 months removed.
Yeah,
from this,
and I'm
right?
like, "Bullshit! I already did boot camp.
Yeah.
I'm not in boot camp anymore,
Yeah.
And so I got frustrated with it, and so
did you get a rank right after boot camp?
I got PFC out of boot camp because I was honor man.
Yeah,
to get a stripe, and so I got there, and I was told that I was going to get all this pay, my boot camp pay and all this, my recruiter assistant pay when I got there. Yeah. And they said no. So I requested mass, and I went and talked to the commanding officer, and I told him my situation, my wife got. So they said, "Yeah, you get your money." So I got the money, and I bought a plane ticket that weekend. I wasn't on duty section, so I wasn't supposed to muster and be accountable for anybody. So I had the weekend to myself. I could do whatever I wanted to do. So I got me a ticket and I went home.
Okay.
Guess what? I didn't go back.
What? You're kidding.
Yeah, I did go back. I went UA for 8 days. I went back to Texas, San Antonio.
Oh my God.
And I stayed there, and finally I realized,
That seems so out of character.
I know, and I was like, I told my wife, I have to go back and accept my punishment. I said, I joined the Marine Corps. I said,
what
I
was
signed
your
a
plan?
contract. I didn't have a plan. I just knew that I didn't want to be treated like that, And then what my recruiter told me was totally different. And I just said, screw this,
I got
and,
you.
And I said, I don't want this, And I really thought, well, I'm just going to get out, And that's what my mindset was when I went back. But, but then I said, no, I'm a man. I signed a contract.
Yeah.
I'm going to live up to my contract. So I told my wife, I'm going back to accept whatever punishment the Marine Corps is going to give me.
Yeah.
So I went back and they called it office hours, NJP, non-judicial punishment. And I'll never forget the captain. It was a captain, black captain, name was Captain Bass. And there was other Marines that were going for the office hours. And they were like, they missed duty section muster.
Yeah.
Nothing like being UA.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, and they were getting stripes taken away from them, and they were getting confined. And I was like, holy fuck, I'm really going to get screwed. So I remember Captain Bass talked to me. He opens up my record book and he tells me, Reyes, because you started off good. Platoon Honor Man, you're the best recruit in your platoon, and then you go UA. So what happened,
Right.
And I told him the whole story, and he goes, okay, so this is what I'm going to do for you, PFC Reyes. He goes, I'm going to suspend you, bus. He goes, so I'm going to put you on 6 months suspension. He goes, if you get in trouble in those 6 months and you come back here, I will automatically take your stripe.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Generous.
And so he put me on EPD, restricted to the base for 2 weeks, and EPD where I had to clean, I had to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks. And that was it. And,
Wow.
And that was for me. I was like,
that's a
that's
blessing.
it. And so that's the only blemish I have in my SRB.
Yeah.
Going 8, UA.
And you still got no explanation for it.
No. But yeah.
But it's good that you had that then.
Yeah.
And you had to come to to terms with yourself.
Yeah.
And then you made that positive decision and went forward.
Because like I said, when I went UA, I really thought, I'm not going back.
It's crazy to
I was
think.
like, I'm not going back.
What was your head
I'm
telling
not going
you?
to go
It's
through that.
I'm just not going to go back.
Yeah, I'm not going to
They
go
won't
back.
miss me.
Yeah. And
Nobody
my
will
wife
call.
and I stayed at a hotel.
They didn't try to call your house, right?
We stayed at, my mom got a letter stating that I was, an unauthorized
Did she come and go, what the hell is
absence.
this?
No, because I was at a hotel.
Oh,
And then finally, I just
jeez.
I realized, I it was after the fact that I found out my mom got a thing. But while I was at the airport, I said, I called my wife's stepfather, Elliot. He was in the Army.
Oh.
And I told him, because I need to go back, Elliot. I said, I screwed up big time, and I need to go accept my punishment.
That's good.
And so him and Trina took me to the airport, and I went back.
A lesser man would have just kept going.
Yeah.
And then hide from it. And then one day grows into a week, grows into a month. So,
but it came back to be like, okay,
that's so crazy.
You have, I know a lot of people,
so
and there's
out
a
of
lot of
character
people
for
don't
you.
know
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
They don't know this about me. There's
That's
only
great.
a few people that I served with that I told them what I did.
That's awesome. Thank you for
so,
sharing that with me.
Yeah. So that's,
And you got, and at least you got a good captain.
Yeah.
That was fairly sympathetic to a young kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, after that, it was like, I did my one mistake. I'll never have another mistake ever.
Yeah.
And I didn't, and I just went.
So you're finally through all of that craziness.
Yeah.
And now you're in Tennessee.
Yep.
Right.
I do. I don't know how long it was, but I
was that a Marine specific
it was
school, or
it was
did
a
you have
Navy
Army?
base. It was a Navy base.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, Navy base.
Did you have all services there,
Yeah.
learning?
And that's one
aviation?
thing. Yeah, and it was one thing because we had Navy people in the class. Was the Marines.
Yeah.
And
but no Army or
no,
anything
it was
like
just
that.
Navy
Okay.
and Marines.
Okay.
And the thing that really scared me being there was, you're taught to salute anything that's shining on the colors.
Yeah.
And in the Navy, you have petty officers that have Chinese stuff.
Yeah, that's a
And
confusing.
so when you're
yeah.
walking in uniform in on base and you see one, you salute, and then they start jumping on your shit. I'm not an officer. Look at this, and Holy fuck. So that I hated going anywhere in my uniform because it's like, I don't want to salute somebody that's not an officer, you know?
That's so crazy because you guys are both technically in the Navy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, we're Department of the Navy.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're going to Great Lakes and you're over in San Diego doing completely different type of boot.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you guys get together, you're so oil and water all the time, you know?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
So how long was that school?
I think it was like 3 months.
Okay.
Three months of school. And I think the
you
first
must have
month.
loved all the tech.
Yeah, it was, I loved it. I really did, you know. And actually, when I got there, they told me my ASVAB scores was real high. They wanted to put me in aviation. And they go, but if you fail aviation course to school,
back in the infantry.
you go to infantry. And so I was like, nope, I don't want that right now. I was like, I'll go back to airframes. I'll be a sheet metal guy.
Okay.
And so I went there and I loved it. It was awesome.
Oh yeah.
I loved it. I really did. Fiberglassing. Oh, I love fiberglassing.
Really?
Oh yeah. Fiberglassing and painting aircrafts. Oh man. Yeah. I love painting. Yeah.
So what's your first assignment then after that?
After that, I got sent to Camp Pendleton, California to my first squadron. And see that one right there? Those are all the squadrons that were at Camp Pendleton. That first one, I did two tours with them.
Oh yeah.
The second one, the third one.
Oh,
I
got you. I see.
And then I was a drill instructor. And then 95, 97 was the last squadron that I was with. But yeah, I went to 169. My first in January of 78. I reported to 169 at Camp Pendleton. And
what is HMLA?
Helicopter Marine Attack Light
Attack.
Yeah. When I first got there, it was just HMA. So Helicopter Marine Attack.
Oh, okay.
And then the second time I got to them, there was HML and HMA. So the HMAs were the Cobras.
Yeah.
And the HMLs were the Hueys.
Oh, okay.
So what they did was they made all the squadrons HMLA. So they had Hueys and Cobras.
Oh, I see.
So they put Hueys with the Cobras. And
did they ever have the Sikorskis? Did you ever get on the Sikorskis?
Oh, the 53s, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, CH-53.
Yeah, that's a big
big plane. And let me tell you, when I went overseas the first time, they put me on a ship on a USS Tripoli.
Yeah.
Oh, I hated it.
Really?
But I got to fly. In a 53, and I didn't know they could fly that
Sea
fast.
Stallions or?
Yeah, Sea Stallion.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And of course they had the 46, which is the two big propellers.
Oh, yeah.
And they call them, those were flying body bags. That's what they called them.
We called them shitooks.
Yeah, it was like, because the Army had Chinooks.
Yeah, right.
CH-47s, and we had CH-46.
Oh, yeah, the 46.
Yeah,
I think
46.
those were slightly smaller, but they're the same.
Basically the same thing. Yeah. So, yeah, so I get to 169, and that's my first duty station. And
got there in 78.
Yep. And I go to a school while I'm there before I get to 169. It's called TME, Training Management Element.
Okay.
And they teach you more skills that you already had learned.
Right.
And then once you get there, then you go to your squadron.
Okay.
So I did that. Then I went to 169 and became part of 169, a real sheet metal guy. And, I did about my first 4 years with them. And then I re-enlisted, and that's when I tried to go to the Air Force. And the recruiter told me, come and see him later. So I told my wife, I said, well, if I re-enlist, I said, I'm going to stay for 20.
Yeah.
So I said, so if you want, you tell me what you want. You tell me you want me to get out, or you tell me to stay in. But like I said, if I re-enlist, I'm going to go for 20.
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, re-enlist. And I did.
So you were in base housing on Pendleton?
Yeah. Well, actually, for PFCs and Lance Corporals,
they let you go off?
No, they had, it was World War II base housing.
No.
And it was off base. It was called Sterling Housing. And let me tell you, those should have been condemned a long time ago.
Cinder block type construction?
Yeah, it was, no, they were wood. But,
they were?
Yeah, but they were terrible.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah,
that's what base housing was for PFC and Lance Corporals. That's what it was. So, we lived off base,
So that's the thing you get.
And it was hard. I mean, we didn't have a car
the
first 4 years that we were in.
But you had that point of reference of being.
Yeah, we had to go to bus, a taxi cab, or walk.
But you're.
Yeah, but we knew. I said, we're poor.
Right.
But work for the whole time you're in the military. You don't get paid.
You and everybody else.
Yeah. I tell everybody, you don't make money when you're in the military.
Not really.
You know.
No.
So, but for me, it was an honor, and I always tell people that because, like I said, I always wear my military stuff, you know, I find it really hard to believe that all this time that I've been retired and I've always worn my military stuff, there's only been like a handful of people tell me, "Thank you for your service."
Well,
you know,
sure.
But for me, when anybody ever tells me that, I tell them, I said, you know what? It was an honor for me to serve my country, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Well,
you know,
and let's go off script here a little bit because you entered in maybe one of the lowest points, maybe not the lowest point, but certainly in the 20th century, it wasn't a great time to be in the military.
Oh yeah,
civilians didn't like you.
Oh yeah,
the whole attitude of you lived through all that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and my brother Alfred really did.
Right.
From Vietnam.
Right.
When he came home in '67 for my father's funeral, when he had passed in '67, July or August of '67, Alfred came home. And he said he got to the airport in San Antonio and they were spitting on him and calling him baby killers and all kind of shit, you know. And I was like, at least I didn't go through that, but still, you know.
Could you feel it very much? I mean, movies maybe overdo that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if you're just walking around town, you know, people coming up and like, "Hey, boy, we don't like you in the military," you know. To
an extent, it was like that, but it wasn't like what my brother went through.
Let's see. So you go to Pendleton for your first assignment. Your next assignment is where? I can see the patch.
It's HML 367. Those were the Hueys.
Scarface.
Yeah.
Where was that at?
It was Camp Pendleton. They were all Camp Pendleton. So I spent the whole time. All of these were in Pendleton? I spent the whole time on the West Coast.
No kidding.
Other than going overseas for 6 months at a time.
Oh, you did go
I deployed with every unit overseas.
Oh, so they would get in the rotation and like, hey,
the way it worked at Camp Pendleton was each squadron would go for 6 months, and then the next squadron in line will replace them. They would come back, and then the next squadron that's in flight.
So you just leapfrog.
Yeah, just leapfrog. And then all that changed when Desert Storm happened. I talked to one of my Marines he was a drill instructor when I was a drill instructor, and he became a warrant officer, and he got out. He retired as an officer.
Okay,
a warrant officer. But he was telling me that after Desert Storm, it wasn't the squadrons weren't going every 6 months. It was so screwed up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that they were staying out there for a year. Oh, you know, and it was not the same format.
So describe that to me. When you go on this 6 month thing, you're just living on a ship for 6 months, or do you go to a location?
When you go on the Westpac, because when the squadron goes, when it's our time to deploy, overseas. They get a small detachment and they go on the ship. Okay. And then the rest of the main body goes to Okinawa. And
they're land based.
And they're there for 6 months.
And that's what you guys did.
Yeah, that's what I did.
But you ended up there for a year.
Yeah. When Desert Storm happened. 11 months.
Right.
11 months, almost a year.
Oh my goodness.
11 months. I was like, holy crap.
What was it like? What was Okinawa like?
I loved Okinawa. It was awesome.
But then you're also separated from
but
family,
that was the hard part is being away from my family.
Yeah.
You know, it's like those 11 months, man. It was God.
How'd your wife react when you go, we're gonna be here for another?
Oh, she knew because they had groups. The wives had a group. And they would get them together and they would talk to them about the deployment and anything that was going on.
But when you guys got extended.
Yeah, well, when Desert Storm happened,
I'm sure
of course they got all the wives together and it looks like they're going to be out there for a long time.
Okay.
You know, because of Desert Storm.
See, the Army does that too. The Army has a wife support group too,
really?
Which is really good.
Yeah, it's good. My wife, she's a seasoned veteran now. And when I was overseas, and she would see all these young wives that show up. They're like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean?"
Just panic, kind of. Yeah,
it's like they're not coming home. They're going to be stuck out there for a while.
Right.
It's just like they start crying and stuff. But,
because at that point, what you've been in 13 years?
Well,
or so, right?
14 years, 15 years.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
Well, where'd you have what time what time of your career did you have the most fun?
Being a drill instructor, 93 to 95.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So you went all the way up to 92.
Yeah, with all the squadrons.
Doing
working on helicopters and
right?
also 5 years was 169 and 267. I was in the we call it maintenance control. And what maintenance control does, they manage the repairs, the maintenance on all the aircraft.
Yeah.
And they had a flight schedule ready. So it was 169. I was just a maintenance controller. 267, I was a maintenance control supervisor. I was in charge of the maintenance controllers. And to say honestly, other than the drill field, the best squadron, the best time I had was my last squadron was 369.
Really?
Yeah. I took, when I went to Okinawa Airframes Metal Shop, I had 3 sergeants and a corporal that had overseas experience.
Okay.
Everybody else was young Lance Corporals.
Yeah.
Lance Corporals, PFCs, and some young sergeants that never been overseas. So for me, I had some good people, that worked for me.
Oh,
that, I always pride myself that I took these kids overseas and not one of them got in trouble. Because I was always
pretty good.
I would always walk the barracks at night, and especially when it was Friday night, if we didn't have to work on the weekends, I would go and check with my Marines, who's going out on town, you're the senior guy, so you make sure those guys, all my guys come back, and all my shops that I've had in all those squadrons, 369 was the best, and
that's great.
I keep in contact with 3 of them.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, actually, there's one, a female. Her name is White Wing. She was a sergeant, and she's called me one time when I was really down, and we talked for almost an hour, and I was so surprised that she talked and the way she talked to me, and it made me feel so much better. And
you realize people out there.
Yeah.
That
So
do care.
There was the best group of people, Marines that I had was 369. Yeah.
All right.
Troops, staff and SEALs.
No.
That's why I said it was time for me to get out. I knew I was done. I was like,
right, because they're all
time to get out there.
Yeah.
And Sergeant Major McGee was our sergeant major, and he knew I was in promotion zone. And when we were in Okinawa, he would say, "Hey, Gunny, have you put in your promotion package?" And I said, "No, Sergeant Major, I'm going to put in my retirement package." Get in my office. And it was like 3-4 times a week, same thing. We go through the same routine.
Oh,
He'd
really?
ask me, and I tell him, "No, I'm going to put my retirement package." And then I go in his office, and he tells me, "Gunny, it's so surprised to see a gunnery sergeant with this much time in that still has the motivation and the drive," and and I said, "Sergeant Major, it's true. I love the Corps. It's been good for me and my family." I said, I have nothing bad to say about the Corps because it's been good. But you know what, Sergeant Major? I said, I can honestly say, and I knew what I signed up for. My wife knew what she signed up for. And I know that the Marine Corps always comes first. And I said, I can honestly tell you, Sergeant Major, in my almost 20 years being in the Corps, that I could put my family 5 times before the Marine Corps. And those couple of those times was when my son had cancer.
Sure.
And I said, but you know what, Sergeant Major? Now I have that choice. It's my choice.
Yeah.
Either I can stay in and keep, my wife and my family separated when I go overseas or we go to war. I said, and you know what? And I was like, for me, it's time for me to give my life back to my family.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going to get out.
Right.
Right. And I didn't tell him because my staff and SEALs were a bunch of shitbirds.
You probably already knew
they were, I was,
So you retired out of that unit.
Yep.
Well, it wouldn't be complete if you don't tell me a little bit about your drill instructor time.
Oh yeah, it was.
Was it just kind of time for a change at that point?
No, actually, when I was with 267, I'd been in Camp Pendleton the whole time with all the squadrons, right? And I wanted to. They have a screening team a recruiter screening team, drill instructor screening team.
Oh, okay.
Or a Marine security guard screening team, where if you're on the list, they come and they interview you.
Yeah.
So you can go to be one of those billets. They call them B billets. And I told my wife, I want to go to the reserve unit because I'm tired of deploying.
Yeah.
So if I go to reserve
That makes
unit,
sense.
so I put in to go to reserve unit. I had 3 options, and I put in for 3 reserve units. NAS Weymouth in Massachusetts, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, and I forget what the other one was. Huh. And instead, they sent me orders to a drill field to be a drill instructor.
But you were on the list. Did you talk to those guys?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you never did?
I talked to recruiters. They had me on the screening team. And, I told them, I said, no disrespect to you guys. I said, you guys got a hard job. Yeah. He goes, but for me, I would be a better drill instructor than I would be a recruiter.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, we understand. Oh. And so that was it. But then when I put in my thing, they must have sent something to them saying that he'd rather be a drill instructor than a recruiter. So they sent me, orders to the drill field.
Really?
So, I was like, at first I was like, fuck, I'm a gunnery sergeant. Why am I going to a drill field? Yeah. This is my career. It's like, if I screw up, if I don't pass drill instructor school, the Marine Corps can say, you're done, and they're not going to let
add
me.
Add an E7, that would be terrible.
They're not going to let me finish my 2 years or 3 years left to retire.
Wow, I didn't realize it was such a risk.
And it was this big thing, And so, I moved my family back to Texas, and I was stressing about going to drill instructor school. But once I got there, it was.
Where was the school at?
It was in San Diego. Oh, yeah, geez. And it was like the school was.
The base.
It was nothing. I mean, really, the hardest part was they call them teachbacks. And as a drill instructor, the drill manual, you have to do, I think it was 15 teachbacks or something like that. Yeah. And it's a drill movement. So you have to explain to your squad instructor, who's a drill instructor, you take another DI drill instructor student with you, and you go across the parade deck, and he stays on this side's parade deck, the drill instructor, the squad instructor. He has his book, and you're supposed to say, the movement I will demonstrate and explain is position of attention. Yeah. And you have to yell, you have to, so he can hear you. Yeah, yeah. And I got behind on my teachbacks because I couldn't memorize them like everybody was memorizing.
It's not easy. You can do it.
Yeah, it was just like
voice it.
So when I was in, they already were talking about getting me off of the school. Whoa! And so because I had one teachback left, so the first sergeant from DI school sends me to the regimental sergeant major from the base, Sergeant Major Reyes, and he tells me, so Gunny, what? I hear you have problems with teachbacks. And I told him, yes, sir. I said, I just can't, it don't stay in my head. I have to write it, or I have to tape myself and listen to myself. Oh, and it takes me a long time to get it. So he goes, well, what teachback do you have left to complete? And I said, obliques, right obliques, left obliques. Oh yeah. And he said, okay, you're my drill instructor, teach me. I'm the recruit. Teach me how to do it. Great. So I went to all the steps and all the commands and everything. It was okay. You go back, tell the first sergeant. It was a little. He signed you off. He was the first little. It was a first sergeant who was a small Mexican guy, Sosa. I'll never forget him. So I went back and I told him I was all happy, excited that Sergeant Major Reyes had passed me. Well, First Sergeant Reyes didn't like that. I mean, First Sergeant Sosa didn't like that. Of course. So after that, he fucked with me the rest of the time I was in DI school. Did he really? He fucked with me. Oh my God, dude. He made life miserable. Did he really? You know what? I was like, I'm not gonna let him get me down. Yeah. This is my career, and I'm gonna graduate.
Even at a senior MCO position.
Yeah. And they tell you this when you first get to DI school. The instructors, they're all drill instructors, Sure. And I was a gunnery sergeant when I went to the school. So there was staff sergeants and there were gunnery sergeants that were instructors there. And they all said, we're not going to treat you like recruits. Oh, bullshit. They treat you like fucking
course they
recruits.
do,
So
right?
fuck yeah, they did. So yeah.
Human nature. Yeah?
But so I graduate from DI school. I fly back home. I take 30 days. I'm with my wife.
Okay.
The first 2 weeks, I'm living like I'm not in the Corps, like I have no worries.
Nice. Yeah.
But then the second 2 weeks, I'm stressing so bad.
Having to go back.
I'm like,
Getting ready.
okay, I went to DI school, but it's not the same as being in front of recruit and marching recruits.
That's true.
And so I was really stressing. And I remember when I went back, I reported to 1st Battalion Delta Company, and I went to the company office and I reported to the 1st Sergeant of Delta Company, and he gives me a big brief and then tells me to go to see my drill instructor and train recruits. So I go to the to the squad bay, and I go into duty hut, see the senior drill instructor, and his name was Gunnery Sergeant Salisbury, black drill instructor. He was a senior drill instructor, and we talk, and he tells me all this stuff, and he goes, okay, go out there and train recruits. So I remember I opened the door, put my campaign cover on, and out to my left in the squad bay area, Staff Sergeant Vasquez. He was the strong J in the platoon, and he was yelling at a recruit, stressing a recruit out. I turned, looked, I ran over there. I started screaming, and that was it. I was like, this is a piece of cake.
Now you're in.
I was in.
Yeah.
I was like, no problems at all. And it was like,
duck to water.
yeah, that was it. I was like, yeah, that's it. That's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy being a drill instructor. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, that was the best time of my 20 years was being a drill instructor.
Yeah, you see that whole progression over how long?
13
is it?
weeks.
13 weeks,
Yeah,
right?
13 weeks. You see a little bit of progression, and so. Yeah.
Any of them come up after and say, "Hey, thanks for getting me through"?
Oh, yeah, that's the surprising thing. My first platoon that I graduated, I was just a drill instructor right out of DI school.
Yeah,
I didn't think they would.
You'd make an
come
impression.
And, yeah, they would even come and talk to me. You know, the senior drill instructor and the strong J. Yeah. But me, I was just a regular drill instructor. But I had so many of them come up and tell me, thank you for stressing me out and giving me discipline. And, you inspired me and stuff like that. And
That's
I was
kind of addictive.
And
right?
I was like, holy shit, that made me feel really good.
Sure.
And I was like, damn, that's what it's all about being a drill instructor. You
can see the efforts or the results of your efforts.
Of your effort, yeah.
Right up there.
And the second platoon, we had fat bodies, we call them diet recruits.
Oh,
so we make a little tag that says diet.
Oh, you do.
And they have a little thing that says what they can eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
So those are our diet recruits. And when we go to the chow hall, they're always the first ones in the front, and they go get their trays of food first. And then they stand against the bulkhead with their tray, and drill instructors come up, we get their list and we look at their food. You're not supposed to have this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember I was on duty, and I was showing them how to wear their ties and their suspenders, and we were getting ready for graduation, the last week. And I was on duty when I was teaching them all this, and had this black recruit came up to me, and I looked at him, and I was like, I see his face like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
But I don't remember his name. And I told him, I said, you were a diet recruit, right? How much pounds did you lose, recruit? And he said, 30 pounds, sir.
Oh.
And I was like, that's freaking amazing. That's outstanding,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. And I remember when we would run on the platoon run, he would always fall back.
Sure.
And we'd be back there stressing him out, yelling. Two drill instructors be yelling at him. He just keep on trotting. He would never stop and not give up.
Oh, okay. Good.
And he graduated. He did good.
Yeah.
And I always tell this story because this is the best one of all. When I was a drill instructor, I was with the whole platoon again in the squad bay, and they were all lined up, port, starboard, and there's two per each rack. Mm-hmm. That's their posts. And the guide who has that little flag, the patch that shows the number of the platoon.
Okay.
And he wears the guide on. He carries the guide on when we march. The flag. He has a rack by himself up front. So he asked permission to speak to me. And he's I can't think of his name. Recruit so and so request me to speak to Drill Instructor Sergeant Reyes. I speak. He goes, there's a recruit that has a problem, sir. So when the drill instructor says something, like I'll say, what recruit has a problem? And they'll say, the recruits will all say, Recruit Bonilla, sir. And so I'll say, recruit Bonilla. And then they'll all say, recruit Bonilla, aye, sir. And then he has to acknowledge that, and he comes and reports to me.
Yeah.
So he comes up, and he was a little chubby Mexican, and he comes up to me, and he's like, tears are just coming out. And he's like, sir, I told him, what is your fucking problem, Bonilla? Right. And he's like, sir, I really miss my mom. And I just exploded. Get the fuck away from me, Bonilla. And he didn't know where to run, you know. So get away, go. Right. And then he goes back. But, you know, after that, I talked to the rest of the drill instructor. I said, we got to get him out of here, man. He's weak.
Yeah.
You know. And so we tag team him every day. We made life miserable for him. But you know what? He didn't quit.
No kidding.
And he graduated. So
he stuck it out.
He stuck it out. So, you know, I was like, upon graduation, you know, I told him, I said, you know, I'm very proud of you because I didn't think you were going to make it. I said, I tried my hardest to break you and I couldn't break you. I said, all the drill instructors tried to break you and we couldn't break you. So that just tells me that you got heart. Right. You're tough. And I said, that's what it takes to be a Marine. You got to be tough.
Yeah.
So
good.
Yeah,
he made it. Kid, man.
So it was.
It'd be fun to talk with him now and say,
"Oh yeah,
you know,
I would love to." Do you remember that day when you came up to me and you were crying? You said you miss your mom. Oh my God! But since then, for my platoon, when I was in boot camp in '77, on Facebook, I've caught up with two of my recruits when I was a recruit. Right. They were in my platoon. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's awesome. And one of my drill instructors, I met with two of them that were my drill instructors in when I was a recruit in '77. I got them on Facebook. So yeah.
It's probably not fair to ask you just right off the top, and you may have already told me, but of your career, which is fantastic, what do you consider like your proudest moment? Or do you just have a string of good moments?
Well, you know? Drill instructor for sure was the top for me. That was something that I wish I had done when I was a young sergeant, not an old gunny.
Oh,
but you know, but 369, that's
still
best squadron. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
The Marines I had that worked for me, they were like my kids.
Oh,
I really
they must have listened to you, so that made it a little bit easier too.
That was the best time, was being with 369.
Oh man,
that was my best.
Most people don't say that.
The best squadron of all the squadrons, that was 369.
Most people don't say that on their way out the door.
Yeah,
you know, their best squadron was 10 squadrons ago.
Yeah, that was the best. 369 was the best.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was good. I met a lot of good people.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Anything we miss? Anything we forget to talk about?
No, I think we covered it all.
Golly, man. What a ride. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I wouldn't change it for anything, you know.
Yeah.
I don't regret getting out, but I miss it. And I always tell people.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't miss the BS, but I miss the camaraderie. I miss having young Marines that I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
You know, and being a leader to them. You know, lead by example. That's what the Marine Corps preaches all the time, is lead by example. And I think in my 20 years in all the squadrons I was with, that I led by example.
I think so too.
You know.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So.
Gunnery Sergeant Luis Reyes. It's been an honor. It's been a privilege to get your story. Thanks for talking with me.
Well, I hope people listen to it. It's pretty amazing, I think.
Well, you got, I know my wife will. I know I will. So that's two.
Well, that's good. I'm going to have to tell some of my Marines that, hey, you know, get on this podcast and listen to my story.
Now you can challenge him.
Yeah.
You can challenge your brother and say, hey, you're not man enough to go do a podcast?
Yeah, really. He didn't like the Corps. He did his 2 years and got out.
Yeah, well, it doesn't suit everybody.
He didn't like the Corps. He didn't like being in the Marines.
Yeah. But he did his part.
Yeah, he did his part. He served.
That's great.
He served his country. And that's, you know, and that's the proudest thing for me. I served my country.
Absolutely.
And no one can take that away from me.
Absolutely.
So.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
On behalf of Gunnery Sergeant Reyes, I'd like to thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please leave a like and a comment and share the podcast with someone else. And, as always, make sure to download the next episode for more service origin stories. So until next time, Tange! Hoo! Dismissed.